bold dream to host 1,000 SHS students and the general public on one platform. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Today, we're going to learn a lot from our discussants. They participated in the 2020 Best Orator competition in Ghana. We have the best speakers in Ghana, and these are the creme de la creme of their various schools. We, at ISPSC, we don't only groom speakers, but we groom the youth to take up responsibilities at the early stages. These are senior prefects and leaders, they are in leadership positions, and they are going to use their speaking today to share among themselves how to mitigate addiction to electronic media and to stay alert on cybercrime. We'll be having great speeches we'll be learning a lot from our guest speakers from the National Cyber Security Center today, and then we'll be joined by our clinical psychologist who also teaches about how to stay and mitigate addiction. Our Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, will join us to tell us about the policies GS has in place for children regarding electronic media. All in all, there will be Q&As at the end. Kindly put all your questions, get your questions ready. When we get to that point, let us have the concerns and then we'll discuss them. We are happy to host all of you. This is a project put together by the Best Orator. And we know this is not just the beginning. We're going to have a series of programs. Thank you again, Ishima and your team. Over to you. Congrats.
Thank you very much. That was a speech by the CEO of Deedee Global, Bertha Amano. But before we get into our discussion, we'll take a jingle from ISPC. Thank you once again for joining us. Today we are sponsored by MTN Ghana, and we want to say a very big thank you to them for sponsoring us today. Now to our discussion. We are going to talk on the topical issue, mitigating addiction to electronic media and staying alert on cybercrime. Now, to my panelists, has anybody ever experienced any form of electronic media addiction?
Well, let me see, something of that sort. Yes. You see, the thing is, electronic media, when we talk about electronic media, we're not just talking about our mobile phones and chatting, WhatsApp, things of that sort. But also things like the radio, the television, the game console, among others, are all these come together to, all of this is classified as electronic media. So yes, there was a time that I was really addicted to TV, I have to say. I was really addicted to television.
Okay. Enoch.
Yeah, for me, I almost fell victim to a cyber fraudster. You know, I love movies. For that one, it's a fact. I can't hide that. So most of the time, I'm either streaming a movie or downloading. But then it just happened one time that I went to one website to download a movie. Then I saw a pop-up ad that I had won an iPhone 11. Like, come on, bro, who wouldn't be glad to have won a phone? So I clicked on the link. It asked me to fill in my personal details. I did, and it said they would get back to me. So 2 days later, I received a call from a guy claiming to be a sort of middleman for the company that was going to award me the phone. So all he needed was for me to send him 200 cedis. That was what was going to help him facilitate me receiving the phone, because the company had already taken care of a lot of the things. So I told my mom, naturally. Then she suggested that I should make a Google search about the so-called company and check their about page and see. I made a search. There was no company by that name. So then a few days later, the guy called back and asked why I had not sent the money. I confronted him about the company and the guy just hung up. He didn't call back. I tried calling back. I couldn't reach him. So then my advice to everyone is if you're on the net and you are probably downloading something or researching, please be careful the kind of websites that you visit and then try to use secure browsers because some browsers that are around, Charlie, if you play with them, they will joke with your life. So that's my
Okay.
advice to us all.
Okay, thank you very much. What were you addicted to, and how did you know you were addicted to these things?
Okay, since I loved movies, most of the time I was with my phone. And with the emergence of the COVID in our dear country, I had an excuse to be on my phone a lot of times. So the excuse that I was learning. Whenever I'm asked, oh ma, I'm learning. Oh dad, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But
Okay.
in actual fact, I only actually did something educational for like 45% of the time I had the phone. The remaining, oh come on, what are you trying to tell me?
Okay.
Was
Okay.
I was just watching movies, exploring, like I was just having fun with the phone and doing anything but educational. So then most of the time I was on my phone. So it actually became a problem. My grades started dropping because I was doing extra classes at home with my cousin. So then my parents came to know about it. They got pissed and then they seized my phone. So that was what actually helped get me out of the addiction. So I'm actually glad they did.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Echo, do you have any? What are you addicted to?
Hmm. For me, it was the television. And you see, it's not very easy for you to know you're addicted to television. But for my own, what happened was that most of the time, as soon as I wake up, it's TV. As soon as anything small, any least chance I got, I was watching television. And so I think what brought my mind to the fact that I was getting addicted to the television was that sometimes my sister will tell me to do something, and then I'll find that even though I had heard what she had said, it didn't really enter my head. I think she will ask you later on, come and ask me what she told me to do, and I don't remember. And then she was the one who said, you know you're addicted to this thing. I was like, how? How come me of all people addicted to TV? Oh, of course not. So yes, I brushed it off, but later I was just thinking about it, reflecting about it. And then I noticed another thing. When I'm not watching TV, my mood changes. I'm not happy. I'm not glad. I'm just down when I'm not watching TV. And this was what brought my mind to the fact that I was getting addicted to the television.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Elsa, do you have any experiences?
You can actually try. Or sometimes, so if you send us a message, we read it because we can
Okay.
read it. No, right now we can't hear you. 1, 2.
We hear you, so you can send us a message telling us about your experience. But Angela, do you have any experiences? Okay. Moving on. Echo, how serious was this addiction? Even though you have told us a bit, how serious was it?
Okay, well, let's see. I got to a point where I can't sleep until I watch the movie. I can't eat without watching TV because every single time I find myself behind the TV eating. As I talked about my mood, I was never happy when I'm anywhere else. Most of the time, I just want to be behind the TV. Just want to be. Even
Okay.
though there wasn't anything interesting to watch, I just wanted to be behind the screen.
Okay. Enoch.
Yeah, like Echo said, you can't know until you are told. And for me, it was my cousin that drew my attention to it. Because after I wake up, after saying my prayers, the next thing was my phone. So my mom was always complaining about it. So then it's not actually easy. But then little by little, we can get through it.
Okay. Okay. So well, for me, I've also been addicted to my phone before,
I
and
was about to ask.
it was because
I was about to ask you.
it was actually because of a reading app. I'm very addicted to reading, so I was really addicted to reading, and everything I'm just reading. I'm reading all the time, 24/7. I'm on my phone reading, and I actually realized how serious it was when it was the week to BC, and normally the week to BC you should be studying and preparing yourself. But then instead of taking my books, I was actually reading. And that was when it really hit me hard that this was actually a very serious issue because everybody is prepping and I'm the only person reading a storybook or something. So that was when I actually got to know that it was actually a very serious issue. So yes, it was
Yes,
very serious because I
and
was
talking
about
about beauty,
I bet you're a shark, so you had no problem.
all
Or
this
exactly.
in a sharp code. This is what like sabotaging your BC grades, and that was something to talk about. But we pulled through, we pulled through. And when it
okay.
comes to realizing how addicted it was, I think I was the one that actually realized I was addicted to the reading. Because I think I went to school one time and I was like, hey, so Ishma, what are you doing? Everybody's studying. And then you were just thinking of the books you're going to read at home. So that was what actually drew my mind to the fact that I was addicted to this thing. So yes, that was it. So when you realized you were addicted, what measures did you put in place to cut these addictions?
Okay. So with me, let me see, the measures were put in place by my dad. Now, as you were saying, during BC, yes, instead of studying, I was watching TV. And then I came home one day, the TV was not there.
Oh.
And I was just dumb. I just stood there looking straight at the TV stand. Nothing was there. Nothing. And then I ran to my mom, Mommy, where's the TV? She was like, oh, no, 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 no. You are supposed to study. You are supposed to. And I said, no, no, no. That day I did not eat. That day I remember clearly. I did not eat because there was no TV.
Oh,
But
that's
by God's grace, with time I got used to being without the TV. I got used to studying, and that's what actually got me out from that stage. Yeah.
okay. Okay. Enoch.
Well, as I said earlier, my mom actually seized the phone and then she drew a timetable for me as at when I could use it. And that I could only use it at the time when I had my online classes. So then she kept the phone with her most of the time. And then when it was time, she would give it to me right after I'm done, not a minute more, not a minute less. She would just come and take it back from me and then she would take it to her room. So yeah, I actually thought she was being wicked, but then it actually turned out she was doing me a favor. So I'm grateful to her for that.
Yes. Okay. Joy Danko, please, if you have any contributions, you can add.
Oh, it says that sometimes, as for me, like I used to chat every day, chatting. I'll be on my bed, chatting. My dad will come. Normally, when I'm learning, I want you to know that I'm learning. So some people, if they are learning, if they see their dad coming, they'll be like, "Eh, daddy's coming." Then they'll just hide the phone. Then they'll pretend that they are learning. But as for me, I'll let my dad know that I'm not learning. So I got to know that I'm addicted to phone because um, I get to know that I'm addicted to phone because every day, let's say I'll spend almost about 5 hours chatting. If the phone is low, I'll put it on chat, still chatting, using my phone. Then later on, I got to know that I'm like my grades are going down, so I need to put up. So I'll put on off my phone. I'll put it at airplane mode. Then I'll put it at charge. Then I'll get to the library. Then I'll be learning. So that's all I can say about. addiction and how to prevent it.
Thank you very much. Sam, do you have any contributions? Angela,
Yeah,
please, can you give us your experiences with addiction to electronic media?
yeah. I would say that the electronic media is a necessary evil. It's really important though, but it can be very dangerous. I remember last year I nearly fell victim to cybercrime. A friend of mine once told me that some guys were actually using my pictures as their DPs and others on Facebook and WhatsApp.
Okay.
And most of these guys, I never knew them anyway.
Okay.
And the guy concluded that they are using my pictures to scam. This really made me angry and scared at the same time. So I decided to tell my brothers about what was happening. And with their help, I was able to overcome this. First, I told those people clearly that I never knew them and that someone might have used my pictures to scam them and later send them my number as their number or their new number. So after this, I deleted the Facebook account and installed another one.
Okay.
So that was how I was able to combat this cybercrime issue. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, we have a celebrity in our midst.
Okay. Darlington, please, if you have any contributions, please feel free to add.
Interesting conversation over there about cyber crime and all the effects. My name is DNA. I work with High School Click. I'm actually the general manager, so I really know what cyber issues have been affecting our students. It's been very tough, but I wish we can go advance our technology to that level that, okay, if I have a phone, if I have any gadget or anything, we should go to that level that, okay, these are the places that can open for teenagers. These are places you can go for teenagers. Trust me, there's been lots of interferences from the applications and all that. Even if you have a meeting with your team, you have a session and all that. Because yes, we're talking about it being a bad side, but trust me, there are positive side where we can look at, where we can try and then have a gut where there are limitations we can do. There are age limits. Have to be restructured. But we still have a positive side of the technology, phones, laptops, all that. Because honestly, we can't stop. We just can't stop using this gadget. It's been addictive, but I think it can be managed. It can be well organized for to help all of us. Because we can't stop it. That's all I can say. We have to just go all out and find ways where we can make good use of gadgets for our learning ability. So an interesting conversation observation so far. So I think we can go by that.
Okay. Thank you so very much. So now, what were the effects of this addiction on you and, if possible, your family?
Personally, yeah, it's crazy. On social media, people get to know your other side. Because when you go home, you have a family. When you go out, you have friends. You have different people you relate to. So when you are posting something, you're thinking about so many things here. Will my family like it? Will my friends like it? Will my friends like it? So whatever positive post you post, it might be negative for someone. Sometimes, I just post that, okay, I'm home, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then someone from afar will be thinking, why is he doing this? So different thoughts, we relate to be differently. Whatever you post will be good for someone, will be bad for someone. Some posts wouldn't be good for others, it will be bad for others. So it has had both positive and negative impacts. But for me, social media, you can't be you can't please everybody. Whatever you post, it will go negative for someone, it will go positive for someone because you relate to people in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, so with High School Click, it has helped that in so many ways with our events, our projects, and so if the positive impacts surpass the negative, ones here for me. I mean, the positive impact surpassed the negative for us at high school, because it has helped us to communicate well. I mean, our people are structured and know that we are dealing with teams. So we post whatever is good for teams. We don't go. So when you come to our page, it's structured like that. But then personally, I'm up 8 years. I'm over when post that. Some high school students watch and say, "Hey, boss, you be this thing." I mean, I'm not your image. I'm doing my thing. I mean, take it that way. I'm not relating to you. So it had both sides over here. When it comes to corporate, when it comes to me personally. So in two ways, it has had both positive and negative sides.
Okay. Thank you very much. Echo, what were the effects of this addiction in you and your family?
Okay. I mentioned that most of the time I was in a bad mood, and normally, bad moods has a way of rubbing off on other people. So, mommy would tell me to do something, and then I start complaining, and somehow the whole family became moody. The whole family was sad because it's like I don't know. I hope you get me. It's like there's just this connection is just not there. So that was the greatest let me say effect of being addicted to television. Yeah.
Okay. Enoch, the effects of this addiction on you.
Yeah, for one, my grades dropped drastically. So then measures had to be put in place for me to get back up. And then I actually wasted money because I was buying data every morning. I usually could buy about 1 gig in a day. Yeah, I could buy,
Very,
please, not
very,
like a year, but like, you see, I buy it in partitions. I buy the 3 CD bundle. That's 476.19 megabytes. I buy about 3. Then I use it to
hey,
download.
the mathematicians among us. Hey,
Then I use it to download my movies during the day. But then if it does happen that I don't have money on me, I wait until midnight. Then the MTN midnight bundle, oh my God, I make judicious use of it.
Nice
Because
one.
with 1 CD, I can get about is it 2.44 gig or so? Yeah, and that's more than enough to download like one season of Grimm or Supernatural or Legacy, like any movie I want to watch, I can download it. So then it's actually um had an effect on my pocket, a negative one, I should say. So actually, it wasn't easy then, but then now I'm glad I'm out of it. Although movie watching hasn't stopped. Movies in India, I still watch.
I know.
Okay. So, JY Jankwa, the effects of this addiction.
So it's just that it have an effect on me, like when using the, as I was saying that some people when they are learning, they don't want when their father is coming, they will say that, hey, daddy is coming, then they go and take the book. Then they assume that they are learning. For me, the effect that they had on me that my learning went down. My grades was going down because every day I spend almost about 5 hours on the telephone. So the device every day chatting. So it's just that I ignore and I placed the phone at flight mode. So every day flight mode. And then I less my time. I reduce my time like in chatting using the phone to 2 hours. So that I'll use the phone 2 hours, do call all the chatting. Then all the rest of the time then I'll learn a little bit, then I'll play with my brothers. And another effect that it was having on me that my junior brother was also like watching me. So he began with hip hop. So in terms of learning, he's a science student. So in terms of learning, then every day hip hop, doing hip hop, like listening to music. So when I changed my attitude with the using of the electronic devices, and he also changed. So that's how I can say. That's how I can say.
Okay. Sam, please, what were the effects of this addiction on you and your family? Hello, Elsam.
Electronic addiction really had a great effect on me. In issues of my academics per se. Hello, hello,
Yeah.
Hello, we can hear
hello.
you.
Yeah, Elsa, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
I am myself.
Elsam, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sure, sure. So, I was saying, with the electronic addiction to mobile phones specifically, I actually saw a great decline in my academic performance. And also, in my health status, since I was on phone, I actually had an eye problem where I got to a point I was supposed to use lens, but come on, you can't see someone like me using lens. So, um, I actually made a timetable for myself where I would have some time to use the phone and some time allocated for my books. So apart from the eye problem, I also saw a great reduction in my weight because if I'm on phone and mommy calls me to come and eat, I wouldn't even mind her. I wouldn't. I'll just be on the phone and then be doing what I'm doing. So yes, it really had a great effect.
Okay. Thank you also very much for this very interesting discussion. We're going ahead to listen to the first speech by our first guest speaker, Efia Jakon Asante, from the Computer Emergency Response Team at the National Cybersecurity. Hello,
Hello,
good morning.
good morning to you too. I'd like to share my screen. I have a couple of presentations I want to share. Please, can the host give me the access to share my screen? Thank you.
Yes.
Ah, so good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning once again to all of you. My name is Ifia Dakwa Asante. Point of correction, I'm the manager in charge of capacity building awareness activation. My colleague Audrey was supposed to assist in this presentation. She is the manager in charge of the computer emergency response team. Apparently, she's not available today, so I will just go through the presentation. I like the way the conversation was going in terms of what we were all addicted to. And I also like the explanation on the electronic or the computer given earlier. Device or electronic device is not the phone and just the laptop. It has to do with TV. It has to do with even light. It has to do with other gadgets apart from just the computer and phone that we normally know. So that is what I want to say. And then the act of actually saying you are addicted. I looked for the meaning of addiction. It also talks about compulsive and psychological need of behavior that makes you connected to a certain substance or behavior. So that is what we call addiction. And if you are doing that to any electronic device, that is being addicted to a device. So today I'll take you through some of the technology or terminologies in the cyberspace and what we need to do. Let me give you a brief of what the National Cybersecurity Center is about. We are an agency under the Ministry of Communication responsible for securing Ghana's digital journey. Not to give you a lot of words, one of the key things that is actually on the heart of government is securing our cyberspace. And we know that children are one of the vulnerable people within this space. So the center, with the help of UNICEF, has set up a child online protection unit just to tackle children's need in terms of the cyberspace. So this is what I'll be talking about in this short presentation. So the outline of my presentation will give you some of the cybersecurity terminologies, a background, the legal framework in which we work, and some of the netiquettes, and then the reporting portal you're supposed to use in terms of reporting some of the incidents you encounter. So what is cybersecurity? Is a protection of systems. As we already defined, electronic device is also a system. So anything that has embodiment of itself is called a system. Connected to the internet, okay, let me use it, and the data on them for unauthorized access, harm, or misuse. Basically, it's the protecting of that device from any harm of any sort. That is what we call cybersecurity. And cybercrime, as the topic is any criminal activities involved in that cyber safe space. That is what we term cybercrime. So if you report an incident that connects or uses a device to the CID unit of the Ghana police, if they see it's connected to a device, they will take it as a cybercrime incident, and then they will escalate it further. In terms of cybercrime, there's a word called risk, which we are all susceptible to that. Is a potential of a threat exploiting a vulnerability. Children are vulnerable. As we all know, we have our own mind, which is vulnerable to a lot of information. So a threat being that you are receiving the wrong information, even the right information, simulating a certain way makes you at risk. That is what we would term it as risk. So it's anything of a threat to you that will exploit you who is vulnerable with information and that can cause any harm. That is what we term as risk. And vulnerability is any weakness in an information system or a device that can be exploited or triggered by a threat. I heard someone mentioning something of Momo, or I think when he was browsing, someone gave him an ad and then he clicked because the person was using his computer history to know what he likes. It's one form of social engineering, and it's a way of people getting to know what you like and actually triggering you to put you in a vulnerable state and actually exploiting you. So social engineering is one of the ways the criminals use to actually get information from you and then harm you at the end of it all. So let me move on to the next one. So I also go through some other terminologies I have here. These are terminology we actually are experiencing, or these are some of the crimes that we're actually experiencing in our space as in Ghana right now. And I think most of us can relate to this, these terms as I move through them. And I think that, okay, there's a word called cyber grooming. I don't know whether the guy who had the experience with the gaming, online board games, whether when you go online, you have people actually talking to you whilst you are gaming, and then you have a chat system while you interact. That's some form of cyber grooming. So where someone will actually befriend you online through a form of something of your interest and have a trust with you and actually have a way of getting you to be having personally attached to you. So that is a form of such essential, cyber grooming. So that is how I can term it. I don't want to define it in book for you. So I want you to relate to it on your personal terms. Basically, they normally use thing of interaction, something that you actually go online. If it's a chat on WhatsApp and you have a group and they are in that group, they want to have a personal bond with you. Maybe they have a common term or common platform or common agenda. They use that to lure you and then groom you a certain way, making up your mind into a certain way. One of them would be the I think there was a point where they were actually taking or adopting Ghanaians here to go for those Hajj schemes. That is one form of side. We're using online to actually get the boys to be psyched in a certain way to adopt them into their evil ways. Okay. There's also something called sex texting. It's a way of you actually sending sexual explicit message, pictures or videos via phone or computer to someone else. It's becoming something of a common in our current situation now, where youth or the youngsters find it common to send their nude pictures across the internet or across the phone while chatting. It's actually a crime in Ghana. And let me refer you to we recently launched a Cyber Security Act 2020, which actually criminalized some of you sharing nude pictures online. If you are caught, you'll be actually be a victim, or you'll be jailed for at least 5 years on that score. So I wanted to read, but let me go through it, and that's all. I'll read the explicit law on this for you to know that it's actually a crime. Okay. Online blackmail. Okay. This is the act of threatening to share information about individual, including image or video, to the public, their friends or family online, unless a demand is met. So it's a form of extortion or sextortion, but this one they actually can use. I think there's a story to the lady was saying someone was using his image or her image for another purpose. It's a way of blackmailing. If they use your image for a purpose not intended, it's a way of they blackmailing you to get you say send me money, otherwise I'll use it for this purpose, or they'll actually scam and they'll put your image in a certain mode which you are not intended to do. This is also a crime in Ghana. So if you have some of these incidents, please report to the National Cybersecurity Center. Sorry, it's my son making the noise. Sorry. There's another term called sextortion. At the same way as the online blackmail, this one, they actually threaten, they go further using your sexual images. I don't know whether any of you have actually come across the link or the website Empress Leak. That is what is actually being done there, where they take a sexual image of you, or you in the act, or prior to the act, or after the act, and they actually use it to extort you, saying that send us money, or we'll share this with the general public. Even though sometimes they do, and after all, they tell you that if you don't send it, we won't take it down. These are all crimes in Ghana, and we actually working with the CID units of Ghana Police to actually cut these corporates on this score. Sharing of intimate images. This is also crime in Ghana. I think most of you are surprised I mentioned that all crime because it's been happening over years and nothing has been done. As I said, we just launched or we just passed the Cybersecurity Act. And this is a form of educating people to let them know that these things are no longer being encouraged or wouldn't be something we'll smile upon as a nation to have sexual images of any sort. Something terms in the term of law, anything that is sexual in nature is a crime to be shared on any platform. So this is a caution to all of us. Let's be noted. Let's take note of this and let's take the necessary caution, please. Okay, my favorite one is the fake news. I went for a meeting and someone said, example of fake news is them telling you that school has reopened on a certain day and you carry your suitcase to the compound and realize that the whole compound is empty. That is a typical fake news. And I don't think anybody will be happy to be in that situation. So I believe fake news should not be encouraged. And we are looking, when we actually come encounter with any information that we think is not, it doesn't sound well, we should actually verify our information from the proper source. If something about Ministry of Communication is sent across, let's actually contact the Ministry of Communications website to get the proper or the correct information, to verify our information, whether it is the correct information. Please, someone is writing on my slides. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Cyberbullying. I would want to have an interaction on this one. If someone has been bullied online before, it's something that is happening that we are not happy about it, and it's also a crime to actually cyberbully a colleague, a friend, or a family member, according to the section. Okay, it's actually according to a section on. Okay. Okay, 65. 65 of the Cybersecurity Act talks about cyberbullying, and it says it's not, it's actually a crime. And if anybody should be caught bullying a friend, what we term cyberbullying is basically sending negative message or harmful words to a colleague or a family member, in order to undermine or, we actually allow freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is has to be kept or actually be defined a certain way of being responsible for the words that you send out there. So we are actually appealing to the youngsters. We wouldn't want our friend or colleague taking our word and having a suicide, committing a suicide on any front. We would want all of us to live happily amongst ourselves, to have cordial interactions. So please, let's try to have a way of communicating with our friends that doesn't make them feel bullied in any form. So thank you. So UNICEF, in collaboration with the government of Ghana, which is National Cyber Security Center, organized a research to find out the risks and opportunities in using the internet. And they came out in 2016 then. I think these numbers will increase as of now because of the influx or the increase in usage of internet as of now. But they found out as of then that 2 out of 10 children and young people have actually met someone online. They first got to know they met someone in person who they first got to know online. I also had an interaction with youngsters, and this is a positive and a negative. Sometimes we actually encourage you the same way you walk outside and you wouldn't talk to any stranger unless you actually you know the person for sure. It's the same way we would actually encourage you that if you go online and you are interacting with people you don't know, you take the caution and you actually get to know them proper. And when you're even going to, there's an extent of the conversation is going to a point where you actually meet the person, you have to go with an adult. Let's try and keep these terms or these guidelines amongst ourselves so that we don't actually fall victim to anything of negative sorts. The next findings was that 3 out of 10 children have experienced something that bothered them online. I think we all can see some pop up when we are actually browsing. We haven't called for a certain ad to pop up, and before you realize there's a pop up on your screen, like, what is this? Yeah, some of these things keep coming up, and we are actually coming up with ways to actually curtail these things. I heard, I've forgotten the guy name, the guy who spoke last before I came. He was talking about spaces or a platform for children. There are lots of children-friendly platforms which we can discuss later that would actually prevent these things from coming up. So I'll hold on this conversation for a later one, and then we'll so these are the findings that were actually they came up with. Okay. There's also another finding that says that 4 out of 10 children have seen sexual images whilst online. And then there's another finding from UNICEF that says that 7 out of 10 children use the internet for learning, which is a good one. And I hope we will all be encouraged to use them more. Instead of when we are learning, we jump into other things other than learning. Okay, so I want to give you the government's commitment to having a child-friendly or a safe environment for children online. We have the leadership, meaning that the government, as in our president, our current president, Nana Akufo-Addo, has actually committed himself by setting up our center for that matter to actually handle this endeavor. We've also come up with laws. As I said, we just passed the Cybersecurity Act to help actually keep the environment safe for our children. We've also done a couple of capacity building initiatives across the country for senior high schools, selected senior high schools. Because of our effort or because of our manpower is not enough, we've actually done about 60 schools as of now, which is not much, but we intend to increase that going forward. The center has also established an incident reporting mechanism where we set up a point of contact where we are receiving child online protection incidents going forward. I will share the links moving forward. These are the things I just said earlier. Okay, the last one I didn't mention was the launch of the COP reporting portal. We have a platform where we can actually take down, we can notice, we can take down, and then report on cyber incident, or let's say platform like images that are not child friendly. Sorry for the word. But IWF is one of the institutions that we collaborate with to help us do this. They have a liaison, we have a liaison with them where they can help us take down some of the images or things online that are not child friendly. So when we receive an incident of that nature, we give it to them and then they help us collaborate, or they have links to all the platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they help us take some of these images down or information down if they are not required. In order to adhere to international conventions or practices against sexual exploitation and abuse, Ghana has signed on to a couple of conventions. Not to boast, but these conventions are helping us establish our own framework to curtail some of these sexual exploitation and abuse. I think I haven't mentioned the word online sexual exploitation and abuse, so let me explain. We noticed that for now, sexual images and sexual activities are being prominent on our internet as activities that youth are engaging on. So as one of our collaboration with our international partners, they've actually listed this one as the main thing that we need to tackle. So there's a need for us. They've actually listed, identified this as online child sexual exploitation and abuse. And it's a main topic now that Ghana, as one of the partners of, or one of the members of these conventions, is trying to help curtail them. So we form alliance with the We Protect Global Alliance, where we are actually helping or coming up with a framework to stop or prevent this from happening. As a way of actually getting the youth on board for them to understand the space as in the cyberspace, the center has set up a Safer Digital Ghana. This is an awareness program, our 5-year awareness program we've actually targeted to actually help the youth or children in general to understand how they should keep themselves safe online. I'm going to talk to you about some of the legislations that we are using or we used before and how they are supposed to help us. Before the Cybersecurity Act, we had the Electronic Transaction Act. It wasn't, let me go back. It wasn't explicit on safeguarding children online. As in the laws or the sections of the law were just saying, let's protect our children here and there. But we realized that we need to come up with a specific law to help children or to help the cyberspace be kept safe in terms of the law. So Ghana, let's say Ministry of Communications in collaboration with other ministries set up the Cybersecurity Act with a particular section. Actually, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, about let's say 4, or yeah, let's say 4 sections tackling what safety on children is about, and really it revolves on online child sexual exploitation and abuse, basically helping or fighting against cybercrime for children in terms of online child sexual exploitation and abuse. In order to operationalize this law, The government has also set up a national child online protection framework to operationalize some of the laws and operations of child online protections also in Ghana. Okay. I won't go through this because I think I've mentioned for quite. Okay, so let me go back to that one. I want to highlight on point 3. One of our key stakeholders in some of our engagement that we have is Ghana Education Service. Is one of our partners that we don't let go because that is where our children actually reside. So we work collaboratively with them to ensure our information is sent directly to the children or the youth. So that's what I can say about that. I brought up this picture because I always have the thoughts in my head that people think that laws are set up or we do a big thing in Ghana and nothing is being done. This is supposed to show you that as much as we are talking about, so it's talking up, putting up documentation, all of those things, we actually have a workshop for the appeal court and the Supreme Court judges in Ghana, telling them that we have an issue of cybercrime or child online protection issues in Ghana, and we need them to take them, or we need them to judge or prosecute these cases as and when they come on. And we are coming up, we are collaborating with Council of Europe, which they are the champions in terms of putting or making operationalizing the law in the court, or making the judges understand that in terms of child online protection, if you see this and that, this is how you're supposed to prosecute. Or if a case is brought to you in terms of this and that, how are you supposed to know that if a phone is brought to you that they say they're taking a picture of a child, how is the phone supposed to be kept in terms of evidence handling on all of those things before the person will say, oh, I'm not the person who took the phone, the picture, because even if it's my phone, a friend took it and all. We need to be sure that we keep the evidence of the case, and then the chain of custody is also adhered to in our court system. These are some of the capacity building sections that we have in the upper or the executive level of government. Okay. Okay. So as I said earlier, we launched a cybercrime, cybersecurity incident reporting point of contact. There are about 5 points of contact, and we would want the youth or the children to report incidents of child online protection to us, or incident relating to children to us. Let me give you a typical scenario, maybe it make you comfortable. The case of Empress League, the administrator being arrested was reported by a child because the child was a victim of that website. He or she was actually a victim in terms of the person was extorting money from her based on the fact that the person had a picture and wanted to show it, or he had shown it and said, give me money, let me take it down. So when she reported it and we made her unknown, we didn't actually publicize her name. We followed up on the case, and at the end of it all, the administrator was caught. He's actually in jail right now, and we're actually prosecuting the case in court. So I would encourage you that please report your cybercrime or cybersecurity incident to the center via call or SMS on 292, on WhatsApp via 050-160-311. We also have an app, that is the NCSC app that you can report. The last one I want to give you so that you don't get confused is www.cybersecurity.gov.ga/report. These are some of the portal or some of the points you can use to report your incidents to us. After all the talk, I want to leave you with this. This is a simple acronym that we have that is SMART. We want our kids, our children, our young people to be very smart. Smart in the terms that we want them to help us to stay safe. Staying safe means that by not giving out your personal information to people you don't know. I believe all of you know that there are privacy portal or privacy links on all platforms for this purpose, that you set a private account on platforms so that you invite people you know to those platforms. And we also encourage young people not to meet anybody just because the person say, come and meet me at this corner. And then if the need be, that a person is a Christian of Holy Ghost measure or the person is a Christian of Christ measure, you kindly go with an adult. And then this is the most important one. Don't just accept files, images, pictures, or friend requests from strangers, because I think someone also raised this issue. Apart from the person actually luring to actually collect money from, they can actually, when you accept a file, there's something called metadata where people put some files in those metadata, and they can actually be called windows where people would have access to your laptop or your phone. So before you, as they said, as the other colleague also said, please actually use secure sites, and then make sure when you're accepting a file onto your phone or your laptop. Normally for our organizations, we have ways of actually deterring the file, or we go through the file. The file is set before it gets to a computer. But please let's be careful how we accept messages and files or pictures from friends or strangers. It can maybe be a normal friend. Please let's be sure that you can actually check the site. I don't know. Young people have a way of checking. You know, a picture is not supposed to be about 10 gig, and you see a file or a picture sent to you 10 gig. Obviously, there's something else inside there. So please let's be careful how we accept messages and pictures from friends. Not everything we see online is very reliable. As we said, let's verify our sources before we actually share them, or we verify our sources very well before we share them. I think even John Online recently, like I've shared a fake news before. So please let's try and verify most of our sources that we have before we share them. If we see something online that is we are not comfortable with or is worrying, let's tell someone. I've heard, I don't know how big I can say this, but I also heard that there's LGBT where people actually send requests for you to be part of the lesbianism group or anything of that sort. Please, if you have these messages or notification coming to your phone, there's a normal thing to do. You report before you actually delete the account. Please report to an adult, a teacher, or a trusted person or authority for them to deal with these contacts before it goes any further. And then we can take the contact or the message down. Thank you. Okay, as a center, we have a number of engagements that we have annually. We have the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is held annually in October. We also have the Safer Internet Day that is held in February, first week of February every year. And then we also have the Girls in ICT that is done mainly by Ministry of Communication. Hello, please, am I past my time?
Yes, please.
Okay, please just give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay. And I'm done with that. I just show pictures and I'm done. Are they allowed to ask questions or I'm done? Okay, so these are some of the events that we have. And then this is we showing you that we've actually done some sensitization in some schools and the Safer Internet Day. And then some of the advices we send out on our social media platforms. So we want to tell you also that we do a lot of collaboration with government and non-governmental institutions. Okay. So I think I've ended my presentation just to show you that you can report your incident to the Cybersecurity Center via these platforms. Thank you very much for your time, and I had a good time. Please, any questions?
Okay, so a question. If sexting is a crime, how then can the National Cybersecurity Center find or track these people engaged in such activities if they use apps that are end-to-end encrypted?
I can't hear you. I think you spoke too loud or too quick. Sorry.
If sexting is a crime, how then can the National Cybersecurity track or find these people if they use apps that are just for personal people, just for the individuals only?
Okay. I don't want to go into details, but basically right now, I'll tell you that we are relying on the fact that people report their incidents to the platform, our points of contact, but we're actually monitoring all platforms. We have a link with WhatsApp, we have a link with Facebook. If the image being shared is not between, if it's between two people and is mutual agreement that I'm sharing a picture with my boyfriend, or I'm sharing a picture with my girlfriend, and it's not offensive of that nature, which wouldn't heighten the need for Facebook to come in, it's fine. But if it's of a or if it's of a nature that is not good, the center will come in or Facebook report to us via IWF, and we'll probably have to investigate further.
Okay, thank you very much. All presentations will be on the Deedee Global website and social media platforms. Thank you all very much. We are going to have a question from Karen. We'll take a question from Karen Akron.
Good day.
We can hear you, please continue.
Okay, so the whole presentation actually educated me a lot, but I would like to ask, I realized that some people would want to report like certain threats that has been happening to them, but due to fear or no one to talk to, like they don't know how to put it across, because it would be weird for me to go and stand in front of my mom and be like, "Mommy, please, someone has a picture of me, excuse me to say naked," and I don't know how to deal with it, because I realize that teenagers of this age don't really know how to communicate with their parents like they should. So what are we going to do about that?
Be allocated for more questions, but right now we're going to have a presentation from Notedra. Notedra is a consultant clinical psychologist with several years working experience, which spans both the public and private sectors. He currently works as a clinical psychologist and researcher and teaches at the Department of Psychiatry, School of Dentistry and Medicine, University of Ghana Medical School. He has extensive clinical and corporate consulting experience in child and adult disorders. In 1996, he established his private consultancy, PsyConsult, to extend his services to individuals, groups, and organizations. PsyConsult has over the years provided consultancy service in the areas of organizational behavior management, human resource management, assessment, training, clinical practice, and research. Norte has worked and consulted professionally for many local and international groups, organizations, and institutions. He is also a key member of the National Coalition of NGOs on Tobacco Control, which spearheaded the campaign for the eventual passage of Comprehensive Tobacco Control Legislation, Section 6, Public Health Act 2012, Act 851. Notedra is an active media practitioner. He is the host of Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM, a weekly interactive health program. We are now going to take a speech from Notedra.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is that Inshra? Oh,
Yes, I can hear you.
right. Okay. So good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to the organizers and other panelists. I'm in between teaching engagements, so I'm using a device that will not permit me to share anything. So I'll just do a straightforward presentation. I've been listening to giving testimony of your own challenges and maybe problems associated with internet use, social media, and so on. I've noted the use of the word addiction, which is appropriate, but will need explanation so that we can all understand what is happening to us. So very quickly, what I'm going to do is to give some information on the domain, give some information on what we consider to be internet or okay, can you hear me now? Okay, now I can't hear you. All right. Yes, I can. Right, it's better now. So as I was saying, it's important to understand why this is a very important topic and why it particularly applies to young people. Now, in your developmental stage or as adolescents, you're developing very quickly in many ways. And therefore, you're growing intellectually, you're growing physically, and there's a lot of experimentation. So the advent of the internet is a great thrill, a great advancement. And of course, we find that for young people, this is something they cannot, should I say, stay away from. I've heard some of you talk about the positive impact of the internet on your lives, on your learning, and so on. So we're not going to argue too much about that, but start understanding that as young persons who seek excitement, information, thrill, and who are also into experimentation, the internet is a tool, a gadget that we need to understand. Having said that, let me also talk briefly about the changes in the media as we know it. So when we talk of social media, we're talking of new or relatively new media platforms and technology that allows you to interact. Social involves and entails interaction. Now, with the older media, what we had was a strong, centrally controlled source of information and very little by way of interaction. So the attraction and the drive behind social media is the fact that you are in some degree of control, but again, that the original orthodox controllers of media and its usage, its consumption, have lost a great deal of control. So unlike the old orthodox media where you have editors, gatekeepers, and so on, a lot of control has been devolved downwards or downstream in your use of social media. And this is where the threats and the harms come in. So anybody can be on social media so long as they have access to the internet. Anybody. Even I speaking to you now can pretend I'm a woman, or can pretend I'm a professor, or I'm very rich, or I can give you access to resources you desire. So the internet or the social media we're using now is cheap, easily accessible across board, and very empowering and enabling. What do I mean by that? Almost anyone has the ability to do things or to know things that previously they did not know. So the internet is a very powerful tool, albeit positive. It's a very powerful tool. The internet is also user or gender or value neutral. What this means is that we can't say the internet is good or bad. It is the users we have to look at and understand. So you can have bad users or bad usage of the internet. So these are things you also need to know. So good people use the internet and use it positively to promote all sorts of positive social gains and attainment. Bad people can also harness the internet. The same way you can use your intellectual capacity for good, you can also harness your intellectual capacity to do the wrong thing. So let's understand that about the current media. So the monopoly is gone. Anybody can put something out there that can be consumed by other people. And therefore, we have this new creature we call social media. Very often, this disables all the protections. Enter your room without knocking, without meeting your parents, without greeting, without any background checks or whatever, right? So let's understand that social media also makes us vulnerable. And I'm glad the representatives and the earlier speakers have talked about the security structures available to protect and also regulate the usage of social media. Various things have been elevated to the level of crimes or criminal activity. And I'm sure you digested that presentation very well. So we understand social media, right? Again, the older forms of media were ordered and somewhat predictable. In social media and the cyberspace we have now, there's a lot of clutter, and anybody can put out their opinion, their ego, anybody can put anything out there for consumption. So be wary of this, and I'm glad the issue of fake news, unreliable sites, and other things has come up. So this is the creature we're talking about. How does addiction come in? I'm glad all of you have expressed in your own words what addiction is or what it represents and what your experience has been. Now, the word addiction comes from our clinical experience when we start talking about the impact of substances on the mind or on consciousness and on behavior. So I'm sure you'll be familiar with references to somebody being addicted, let's say, to cocaine or to alcohol. Addiction in itself has some medical and biological connotations that speak to a change in the system, which can be referred to as a disease entity, right? The more comfortable and maybe appropriate word is dependent. So in a sense, we are dependent on these gadgets. We are dependent on what they allow us to do. We are dependent on the connections they afford us. Now, dependence and addiction all lead to certain things we need to identify. The first thing when you are dependent on anything is to understand the two main arms of dependence. Either you are physically dependent, if we are thinking of substances, or you are psychologically dependent. Physical dependence means that a substance has changed the way your body functions and changed the way your body even determines what is normal. So when you don't have that thing which got you physically addicted or dependent, then your body goes into what we call withdrawal. Withdrawal is basically your system trying to cope in the absence of the thing it is dependent or addicted on. Now let's come to cyberspace and smartphone or internet addiction. What happens is that these gadgets and these platforms and products are designed deliberately to entrap you, to ensnare you, and make them, things that you cannot function without once you are hooked. So for each and every one of you listening to me, you are hooked to some extent on these gadgets. And the negative outcomes that you reported as forms of addiction are the manifestation of that abuse or maladaptive use of the internet, which is what we're looking at in this case. So we have something which is designed to give you a convenience. It does good things, right? Creates good linkages, but it can get to a level where it is maladaptive and therefore harmful, which is what I want to help you understand today. So you use something to an extent where now your system integrates that as part of your normal routine. I heard somebody, I think was it Asante Enoch or somebody else, who said that they wake up, they say their prayers, the next thing is the phone, right? So excessive usage, which now starts to harm you or compromise your functioning or impair your function, is what we're talking about as dependence or addiction. Note also that apart from this withdrawal, I feel inadequate without using the internet. I also start to feel uncomfortable. And I heard somebody else mention their mood and other negative mental health impacts. So what have we created? We've created something which is very powerful. We all know how to use it. Indeed, in these days, if you are not internet or IT savvy, then you are socially and maybe even professionally and personally deficient. So yes, it's become an integral part of our identity and of our behavior. Indeed, no advance in media technology has impacted our lives and our behavior more than the internet. But now we have a vast domain of platforms, products, content, which everybody can access. The older media had limited storage and limited capacity. Now we talk of cloud or cloud storage, right, with infinite capacity. So this is the creature we are dealing with. So not only have we logged on or become hooked, in its absence, we feel inadequate, and there are various negative consequences that we need to look at. When we're talking of substances, the Chinese have a saying with regard to alcohol, and they say, first, the man takes the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man. Let me repeat that. First, the man takes the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man. And this illustrates what happens when you are addicted to a substance, or in this case, to the internet or to social media. First, the man takes the substance, and then the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man. So it tells you that after some time, it is the internet which is in charge. It is the platform which is in charge. It is WhatsApp, it is Instagram, right? It is your favorite movie channel. It is Showmax or Netflix, which is in charge. So a key salient pillar of addiction or dependence is your loss of control. I talk of 3 C's. The first C is loss of control. Are you in charge of your usage of the internet? I heard somebody, I think I wrote his name down, mentioning how many gigabytes he buys and how he buys them, right? So over time, when you become dependent on the media platform that you're using, you also find that you develop tolerance. Tolerance means that you are using it more often than you intend to, and also you've lost control. When you use it in lower duration or consumption packs, you find that it doesn't satisfy you. If you were a drinker or an alcoholic or a smoker, you find that you are smoking more than when you initially started. So the media outlets also depend on this dependence to make their money. So start knowing that some of these things are, in a sense, deliberately engineered and are a necessary evil of the convenience and the capacity that these media platforms give us. So the first one, you've lost control. The second pillar, or the second C, is compulsive usage. What does that mean? It means I am driven to the platform. Even when I've said this week I have exams, I will not use WhatsApp. I will not go the second usage. Now you don't determine. You even have money to do other things, but you use it on this platform or this device. First, the man takes the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man. So you've lost control. You are no longer in charge. The beer or the alcohol, the aperitif, the energy drink decides when you will purchase. Is it surprising that the media outlets and companies and the telcos are so rich when we, rank businesses in this country? Because even though you are on prepaid, even more expensive, you continue to compulsively buy.
Hello, Mr.
Right?
Kote.
Yes?
Sorry to cut you, but time is up.
The time is up?
Yes, please.
Oh, really? I was told I had 15 minutes. Okay. Don't worry, I'll take the question.
Okay, so Darlington. Karen. Karen, we'll take a question from you.
Let her repeat the question she asked.
Karen, please repeat the question you asked, the first question you asked.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The first question I asked is that it's good that like there's now a place where you can report certain things happening. But take it that me, being an introvert, how would I go to my mom and be like, Mommy, someone has a picture of me and is using it against me? Because first of all, I don't like to talk. I don't know how to approach people. And it's not like I'm really close to anyone. So it would be very difficult to come out that this and this is happening to me. And since people think you are a certain way, they decide to just either ignore you or let you be. So how would you come out? How would it be easier for people to interact and get to say what they want to say when things are happening to them that isn't really good or they don't like?
Okay. Should I answer that straight? Or?
Yes, you can answer.
Okay. Well, first, Karen, I'll say for an introvert, you're doing great. We can hear you, we can see you, and you are expressing yourself, even about something that makes you uncomfortable, right? But you raise a very critical point, which is how do we protect you against this beast we are talking about, especially when it's having negative impact. So somebody is using your picture, it's making you uncomfortable or even getting you into trouble and so on. And there are platforms, I think my co-presenter from the cybersecurity can talk about that. I saw a short code and a few numbers that may permit and probably do permit anonymous reports, right? Which allows you to report it and give the details and stay anonymous. But definitely you will have to give some details of the offense for it to be tracked and traced. By reporting, even in an anonymous mode, you are making the system more, should I say, protective and safer for everybody else. So these are some of the challenges. And in most setups, there's a provision for you to make these anonymous complaints, right? And let's be mindful that the negative outcome, some people are so harmed, not just angry. Some people even get so depressed that they're suicidal. You see people who leave groups just because of one comment, okay? We are encouraging you to be aware of the dangers and be able to disclose them. Some of you may need support to disclose. We have what we call assisted disclosure. So those are the things I can say to that. But you're doing well now. You're on the platform. You logged on to this event, which is very good. So you can use these channels to do the right thing and to protect yourself and others as well.
We'll take another question from Darlington.
All right. Okay, so I'm enjoying the conversation. I think I have a question for the first speaker, which is Audrey. Uh, there's been lots of cyber and electronic media, a negative impact on our children, but are we making headway? Because I think these are kids, these are children. If you don't go the rigid way, it will be difficult. And this way, I'm talking about our database. Our database should be something that should help us in a way that our database is not good here in Ghana. Our age limits and all those information, relevant and truthful information, are not accurate. It's so we should be partnering with technological apps. We should be partnering with the National Identification Authority so that every site or every operational platform, you need that age limit before you can log in. This is my age. This is the truthful age. But the database is not working because trust me, phone is privacy. If I'm holding the phone, it's all about privacy. And you can't control it. I can be in the bathroom, I can be in the kitchen, do it all alone. No one can see it. But if you have to go the rigid way that, okay, we have age limits and we're having a relationship with the technological apps, we're having a relationship with the database, the national identification and all that if you're not this age, you can't even log in. And then even with the website and all that, even if you are posting something, there should be that age limit. If you're not in between that frame, you can't even watch it. You can't even view it. Because that, I thought, is one of the rigid way that will help this situation. Because just as I was saying, phone is privacy. If I'm holding my phone, you can't do anything about it. So we have to go the rigid way, where there should be that collaborative effort between all these agencies that I mentioned, technological app, the database, national identification, getting the truthful and accurate age. I know it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult in getting the rightful age. But if you're able to go by that, that will be a one rigid way that can control all these things. So that, you can have your phone and go there. You will log in, you put your age there, you can't go there. It's not your part of the world that you're supposed to go there. So I think that's one thing I wish they can look at.
Please, we'll take more questions.
Can I respond to
yes.
Darrington? Okay.
Yes.
That is a good suggestion. Darrington, I'm applauding you. I actually was here clapping my hands. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. It's good to hear the youth wanting this. But the angles of the national thought will be a collaborative one, a collective one. Right now, the technology as we have now have to be collaborated with a lot of institutions. Even as you said, the problem is me verifying that are you a specific age as you are saying it is. I don't know whether you've gone to the hinterlands in Ghana. There's another problem altogether. Even your mother's name, oh sister, yeah, and that is it. And you ask the person, oh sister, yeah, what? And it becomes a whole ball game as to what the person's. So identification in Ghana is a big problem. I don't know whether you're talking to people in NIE, and they'll tell you that even those they actually coming up with that space of database is even a problem. We are collaborating with them. We are working with all the forces. They're actually one of our stakeholders on our technical working group, and they are helping us do these kind of collaboration. It's a long haul, and I know that all these passions of what we want the nation to be will be established, but we are actually looking at all the forces. Right now, what we have a stable platform to monitor are your Facebook, your WhatsApp, and the other platforms, those platforms that we can actually monitor them well. That one we are doing them. But as for a national effort, it's a long haul, but we are doing as much as we can. And I thank you for this, your contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, please, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hands. Echo, do you have any questions? Okay, please, anybody with questions can ask. Angela, do you have any questions? Okay. Angela, please go ahead.
Okay, I would like to know whether the overuse of the electronic media may cause any psychiatric disorders.
Whether the
I
use
repeat again.
causes psychiatric disorders.
Yeah, the overuse of the
Okay.
electronic media.
Well, there are a whole range of psychological and psychiatric impacts. Okay. Some people use social media to prop themselves up because they feel socially deficient or inadequate. Somebody has a difficulty making friends and creates a whole new image for themselves on social media, and that helps their mood and their feelings about themselves, right? So there are many people who are harmed by some of these things because they are actually distorting the way they are, and social media allows them to do that. The other side of it is those who seek validation, right? So I'm telling you a lie about where I live or the kind of house in which I live and so on and so forth. Okay. So again, I'm using social media to compensate for some of these things. For many of us, the way we are in real life invariably will translate onto how we behave on social media, and this can make us vulnerable. So there's somebody who can't take a joke. You find them harmed by a certain comment on a WhatsApp group, right? That harm will not be captured. You might see so and so left the group and so on and so forth. And many of these things can translate into psychological or psychiatric problems for some people. Somebody is forced or coerced into a relationship because they are present on a platform or they log on to a certain group and they start wanting to do certain things, right? There's something we call fear of missing out. So people sometimes over exaggerate what they are doing well, and they skip out what is not going well. So people think everybody else's life is great and mine is not. And therefore they start to suffer psychological consequences and so on. Somebody feels if I don't log on, I'll miss something that is going on in school or in the group. So a lot of these things translate into psychological challenges and disorders, some of which are actual disorders we can diagnose and may need treatment. So yes, your excessive use, some people are using substances or trying all sorts of things because they saw it online, something they wouldn't do themselves. Somebody is wearing an outfit now because they saw somebody wearing it online. Okay, so there are various ranges and degrees of problems, some which may result in psychiatric or psychological disorder.
Okay.
I have a question.
So there's a question from Felix Opoku. And it reads, I would like to know, after reporting someone to cybercrime security, what are the processes or measures they will go through to find out that what I am reporting about the person is true or not true? Okay, so we're taking questions from other people. Anybody interested in asking a question?
I have a question. Desiree.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Please, can addiction be a positive thing? Because if I'm always behind electronic gadgets, but what I'm using it for is profitable, it's something that is meaningful. When you see addiction to my gadgets at this point in time is positive, is beneficial. That's my question.
Okay.
Okay, I think I've been unmuted now. So let me go back to the definition, right? So you are using something in a manner in which it is harmful to you. That is the basis of the definition, right? You know how to use WhatsApp positively, but you can agree with me that typing and reading your messages whilst you are driving is dangerous. So when we talk of addiction and maladaptive usage, that's what we mean, and we capture it in impairment or the distress it causes you. What you are talking about is that I use it and I get benefits, and there is nothing to identify by way of negative impact or damage to you. Okay? So you can have positive usage of the internet, and insofar as there's no negative outcome, then you're not talking about addiction per se. All right? You are using it appropriately and within limits. If it goes into excess, somebody said at a point something was discovered with regard to their vision or their eyesight. Somebody said their academic performance dropped. Okay? So impairment is always central to what we are talking about. So it's important for you, when I mentioned the 3 C's, it was loss of control, compulsive use, and then negative consequences. So if you are honest with yourself and you assess your usage of the social platform and you don't identify negative consequences, then you are within safe limits, right? But if you are honest, sometimes you see, I spent this much money, or I failed to use my time for this, I didn't attend this, I didn't prepare for this. That's a negative consequence. So it stems from the definition. So you can have good usage, positive benefits and yields, right? Dividends. But where it is harming or hurting you is what we're looking at, and making sure that you all understand this and you can identify it for yourself and hopefully seek help or remedy. Let me just quickly add, one of the key things we look out for also when we're defining dependence is that the person themselves, you the user, you have tried yourself to self-regulate. And I heard a lot of you saying that. I try to limit, I put myself on aeroplane mode, I buy less data, I go off, and see efforts at self-regulation. It means subjectively the person themselves sees there's a problem, okay? It's in the early stages, but you've already noticed that you're spending too much time, too much money, right? So always look out for yourself. Any habit that you try to control yourself means even on your own subjective level, you see a problem. Thank you.
Thank you much. There was a question from Francis. Okay. So the question is, can the electronic media change the thinking of an individual due to what the person read or watched online?
Yes. Okay. I've mentioned that this has changed the way we live, the way we think. Recently and sadly, I've had to do a lot of online work and interviews with regard to what we've heard happened in Kaswa. I'm sure you are all aware what I'm talking about. Yeah. The teenagers engaged in the murder, right? Now, what will change my thinking such that even if I'm going to do something as bad and dastardly as that, to a friend in the same neighborhood, so obviously something is promoting the benefits over the consequences and the challenges. Do you see? There's somebody who listens to somebody else and starts to challenge their own parents' authority. I've watched this online, or my friend tells me that they are allowed to do this. Why? Somebody mentioned earlier in your exchanges that I felt my parents were being wicked, right? By trying to regulate my media consumption and so on. So yes, you're thinking of what is important, what is of priority, right? What is of value. You are sitting there thinking of the latest phone. You know your parents' finances, right? But it is the media and the exchanges that have made you prioritize that thing. And then you start to think of schemes to get that iPhone, okay? So it starts with your ideas, and then you act on your ideas. You watch pornography, you see things you haven't seen. Gradually, it moves from watching it once in a while to knowing where you are going. You have graduated. You are looking for wilder things to watch. And then you get to a point where you now want to experiment and ask the things you see. So yes, the media can change the way you think and the way you behave, right? And let me just add, it's not just the platforms, even music. You watch a music video and you get the lyrics, right? It can change the way you speak, the way you talk, if I refer you to Shatawale's song, Taking Over, you may hear Benalin. Do you guys know what that is? Benalin is a cough mixture, Benalin expectorant. But we have young people abusing it because it has codeine in it, right? So it's not just the platforms and the chat, the music, the video. Somebody says he spends so much downloading a series, right? Many of you have accents, you haven't traveled anywhere, but it's the strength of the impact of what you are exposed to and what you consume. So let's be mindful. Yes, it can change your behavior. It can change your mind. Somebody is challenging even the church they go to, right? And their religious beliefs because of the media they consume. So yes, it does change people's behavior, and it does also change in the negative. Note that when we talk of peer pressure, there's also positive peer pressure. There's that friend that forces you and compels you to learn and do the right thing, okay? But you hear more of negative peer pressure. In the same way, there are positive sides to media, but we must be very mindful of these negative aspects. Thank you.
Okay. Very much. This will be the end of our question section for now. Right now, in our midst today is a special guest, Honorable Yao Osei Educhum, Minister of Education, to expatiate on GS policy on internet access and use of electronic gadgets on campus. Honorable Dr. Yao Osei Educhum is a Member of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, representing the people of Bosomtwe constituency in the Ashanti region. He is also the Minister of Education in charge of general education. Prior to this, he founded and served as the Chief Executive Officer of New Designs Education Group in Los Angeles, California. Through NDEG, he founded the New Designs Charter School, also in Los Angeles, and was the CEO with staff strength of about 200. He resigned from New Designs Charter Schools in 2017 for his new role in Ghana as a Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe constituency. Honorable Dr. Educhum holds a PhD in Education Policy and Administration from the University of Southern California and a master's degree in Education Management from the University of La Verne, also in California. His undergraduate degree is in Land Economy from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. In the Parliament of Ghana, Honorable Dr. Educhum serves on the Works in Housing and Poverty Reduction Strategies committees. As one with a deep passion for education and an unrepentant belief that the best way to transform Ghana, and in fact Africa, is through education, he is committed to education transformation in his constituency through the creation of a Science, Technology, and Engineering and Mathematics Academy. Honorable Dr. Educhum is an international public and motivational speaker who has had audiences in Africa, Europe, and the Americas, and the rest of the world. Born on April 9, 1964, in Jechi in Bosomtwe district, to parents who were farmers, he lived through humble beginnings in Jechi and Antubam in the western north region of Ghana, and with determination and hard work, achieved greatness for himself and for Ghana. The minister's representative is Mrs. Catherine Appiah-Pinkra, the Director for Pre-Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education. We will now listen to a speech by Mrs. Catherine Appiah-Pinkra.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for this opportunity granted us to be here. And as the MC for today said, Honorable Dr. Educhum should have been with you today. In fact, these are one of the programs that he loved so much, and he wouldn't love to miss 1 minute of it. He tried his best to be with you, but unfortunately, he has to be called to the highest office at the presidency where they are having cabinet meeting. Today is a Thursday, and those who are within the military circles know that this day is a very critical times for cabinet ministers. and he has to actually rush to the place. However, because he viewed this as one of his priority areas and a program being done by his own constituents, that's his students, he deemed it appropriate that somebody step in his big shoes, and that is the reason why I am here. And it's not coincidental because I'm also the director in charge of pre-tertiary, where most of the policies for pre-tertiary education are being done. So personally, I'm also happy to join you this morning. I've listened to you and everything that you say with the speakers and your questions and all that. I think that this is a very important program that we wish that you continue in the years ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to read Honorable Edichum's speech for you this morning. I wish I would have the opportunity to speak myself, but permit me to read his speech. Madam Chairperson, distinguished guest speakers, Dr. Gia and Dr. Olenu, colleagues, friends, and our future leaders, that's the students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As I said earlier, I bring you apologies and goodwill message from the Honorable Minister and wish to state that the Honorable Minister is particularly delighted and honored to be invited to this event of distinguished minds and managers of our future. This program and the theme signals to me that our future is bright and we have capable hands in waiting to drive our agenda of being amongst the first and the best in the world. The government of Nana Akufo-Addo, right from its inception, sent a strong signal to his commitment to expand access to education under the free senior high school policy and many others. Thousands of children who would have otherwise dropped out of school have been enrolled under the free senior high school. Government has also not reneged on his obligations to provide quality education, and as the result of the last WASI, it revealed that the products of the first free senior high school distinguished themselves and made us so proud with sterling performance. The opportunities that ICT presents us in these modern days to expand access to education is not lost on government. The internet explodes classroom teachings from one to many to many to many. Information that could reach a handful of students in one classroom is now available to millions and billions via the World Wide Web, which we call the www. Students are now able to have interaction with their peer, and they are also able to peer review and compare and contrast information from far and wide and from all parts of the globe, and keep abreast with the latest in technology, science, and the humanities, and even in the social realm, where Dr. Dia has alluded to. The use of the ICT has become even more critical in these new normal times we find ourselves. That is the COVID era. Teachers also can also make use of the internet by providing their students with extra study material and resources such as interactive lessons, educational quiz, as well as tutorials. Teachers can record their lectures and provide it to the students for revisions as opposed to reading from notes. To this end, the Ministry of Education under the Ghana Education Service is committed to the eminent distribution of laptops and other teaching and learning materials to both teachers and students. Uploaded onto the laptops are professional materials such as the curriculum, teachers' resource packs, continuous professional development, and professional learning communities. modules and textbooks, and core subjects. Indeed, the ministry has also been equipping schools with ICT tools to enhance teaching and learning and lean heavily on electronic media, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. To ensure continuous teaching and learning while schools were shut down, the Ministry of Education and the GES introduced virtual learning platforms. And I must say that these learning platforms, there's always first time in everything, is undergoing serious revision because we are getting a lot of feedback as to what is missing, what is lacking, what can be made to improve. So these learning platforms are undergoing serious revision. Televised Ghana TV learning and online, that is the iCampus programs, along with a radio reading program to provide students the opportunity to contribute studying their core subjects, which are mathematics, English, science, and the social studies, as well as selected electives. I must pause here to say that as we're going through the revision, platforms like this and from your own good self can provide us with some good information as to how to revise these learning platforms to make it more useful to you all. This has proved invaluable to students in rural and poor households who find it difficult or impossible to participate in e-learning initiatives because they don't have access to the necessary devices, to the internet, or to reliable electricity. We are joining many of our development partners in these areas. You know, in our part of the world, it's also difficult, even within the cities, people don't have access to internet and even the devices for which the internet will be used. We are having discussions with our development partners, including the UN family, as well as Hewlett Packard, which is HP, and other companies who are coming on board to support the ministry and expanding this access to everybody as far as education is concerned. Government will continue to prioritize radio and televised programs in the short and long run, and also invest in expanded access to online resources for the longer haul with the assistance of the private sector, including your proud sponsors for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, nevertheless, the GES has stopped short of allowing children to bring their own devices to school. That is the current policy. But as we align ourselves and know that this is not the normal times and that we have to change the way we do things and even amend our policies, we are very glad that this policy is gradually being changed. As your team, and I quote, mitigating addiction to electronic media and staying alert to cybercrime suggests that there are hidden dangers lurking in the shadows of this technological advancement. And if we do not manage the transition carefully, we risk creating some damages in the process. And at the end of the day, it's our dear students that will suffer. That is why the ministry is reviewing all its policies, procedures, and protocols regarding the bringing of your own devices to school, which will include smartphones, laptops, even as we confront the reality that the world has shifted and certain tools have become part of our learning. The ministry is currently running the usage of a device which is called the iBox, and which has been installed in selected schools, and it's also being looked at to be expanded to cover other areas. And it operates within certain radios around the schools, which has loaded syllabi contents and opportunity to do assignments, get it marked, ask questions, and receive feedback. It's being reviewed for expansion and also to take on the needs of our times. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is happening at an opportune time when the ministry itself is considering a paradigm shift and coming to terms with the new normal, the ministry is also currently developing for implementation number of policies that I talked about. One that will interest you to know among the lots is the ICT in education policy. In fact, tomorrow we are going to have an inception meeting. We are having support from the UN to do this. We have also developed, and we have the final draft yet to be sent to Parliament, Cabinet for approval, safe school policy. One of you did ask a question about if I see something online and I want to ask my parent and all that. All these things have been factored in the safe school policy. It's just to make our schools safer for everybody. And all these are being taken care of in these policies. We are also pursuing the development of a digital literacy policy and open distance and learning policy, as well as private education policy. I dropped this one in because now students some are saying that they want to stay at home. They want to have home learning or studies. And it's something that as an education ministry, we need to consider. So we want to have this encompassing policy that will look at private education policy that will cover this one and also our private schools. All these, as I said, are geared towards making our schools safer, expanding access to quality education, and a more flexible way, and most importantly, present opportunities in preparing our students to be at par with their peers in the other developed economies, and also fit well in the fourth industrial revolution, which Honorable Educhum loves so much, and that is actually driving his priorities and policies for the next 4 years. A question came earlier, as I said, on how to recognize and report for help when you recognize a cyberbullying or harassment. All these, and I think Dr. Dia has given us some lead, and we'll also want to add that these policies, particularly the Safe School policy and then digital literacy, provides resource guide to students and teachers as well as parents how to manage situations like this when they come our way. Even on this platform, I am sorry to say it, and I don't mean any to disrespect anybody. We just witnessed, I don't know if anybody saw it. In fact, I just witnessed somebody lying in bed, bare-chested. And as I said, I don't know whether some of you saw it. The device that we have been given provides opportunity to mute or shut your video, and you can still participate effectively. We need to use this opportunity very, very well and wisely, whilst following all protocols to keep everybody safe. And Dr. Dia, I'm glad, has eloquently advised us on how to go about some of these things. Dear students, we need to be very, very careful about this opportunity given us. Some will be, I've had opportunity to even chair a program that I was, excuse me, I was in my 90 because it was so early. But I had to shut my video so that nobody get offended and I can still effectively participate in whatever I was doing. So, my dear students, let's take these protocols very seriously and follow them strictly so that everybody can enjoy you whilst you are online. Dr. Dia has given us a lot of advice on this. And concluding my Dr. Educhum's speech, I am happy, and that this is actually coming from him, that he is really happy that the discussion is being facilitated by the very beneficiaries of the new policy, because once your inputs are incorporated into the final policy, its implementation becomes so easy and acceptable by all stakeholders, including your parents. I am glad that this conference has succeeded in drawing on expertise of renowned personalities like Dr. Oleinu Ashite from NASA and Dr. Notedua. This name, I know you guys know, is a household name when it comes to psychology issues and how we should behave and all that. And we are privileged to have them on. And I hope that you are taking advantage of that. And the minister is saying that he believes our dear students will take serious and reflect on their ideas and admonitions during this conference and beyond. And he wishes that you apply the usage of ICT in a more safe and profitable way. Ladies and gentlemen, the minister wants to say he's appreciative of your invite and the fact that you are pursuing something that sits well and is in line with his objectives and priorities for the next 4 years. On my behalf and on behalf of the Honorable Minister, I would like to say a big thank you for allowing us to be part of this program. We thank you for the attention, and we can only wish you the best in your deliberations. And we look forward, that is the Honorable Minister's admonition. He looks forward to receiving the recommendations, ideas, and all that you want him to take care of after this conference. And that his office is always open to receive you and to receive your comments all the time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Very much for your time. Before, we are very grateful to you for your time and your efforts, Mrs. Catherine Appiah Pinkrah. And our regards to the minister. Before we end this conference today, we're going to take a few words from a teacher who coached one of the discussants, and final words from the discussants, Mr. Tingi of Infanticum. Mr. Tingi, please, we can't hear you. Can you please unmute yourself? Okay, Mr. Tengi, we'll come back to you. But before, Enoch, can you please give us your final words?
Oh, okay. First of all, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the general public, Mrs. Catherine Appiah Pinkrah for representing our dear father. We know how much you wanted to be here, but he is kindly excused, and we thank you all very much. And my final words to us all is that there is nothing under the sun or no problem that hasn't been seen before. No matter what your problem is or whatever it is you are going through, just feel free, open up to a parent, or you can choose to either communicate straightforward with the authorities and then tell them your problem so that you can receive the needed help. Let's stay safe, observe the protocols, and not forget to take the vaccine shots if and when you come across it. Because people are actually running away from the vaccination. So please, if you get the opportunity, don't throw it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Echo, your final words.
Okay, so we have really learned a lot. We have gotten a lot of information, and in fact, there's a saying in Italian which goes, "Calvara e gratitudine non esprimere come voce e regalo e non darlo."
Why did you say? Let me repeat. Oh, Spanish or Italian?
Italian. Yes, meaning feeling gratitude and not expressing it. It's like wrapping a present and not giving it. So permit me to express my gratitude to all the guest speakers, Dr. Notijia, the Honorable Minister, his representative, to Deedee Global, to all of us who are here for making time to tune in into this discussion. We have all learned a lot. We've learned a lot about cyber crime, cyber bullying, online blackmail, a whole lot of things. And I know that all of this has been beneficial, and we are indeed going to use it, and we are all going to make use of it as we engage with the internet. Thank you very much.
I think that's all.
It's okay. Elsam, your final
Okay,
words.
so first of all, I'd like to thank the Almighty God for a successful program. And I also want to thank our guest speakers for enlightening us on issues of cybercrime and electronic addiction and how to be able to respond to such issues in case we find ourselves as victims of these. I'm very sure that each and every one of us, and then we'll be able to stay alert on cybercrime and also educate our peers who are not able.
Okay, thank you very much.
Desiree, I have something to want to say.
Okay.
Yes, another thing to ask students to, a piece of advice that I was given that helped me was that we should engage ourselves in other things. Most of the time, we find ourselves coming on to, when I say depending on social media when we are idle, when we have nothing doing. But when we find a passion, find something we are interested in, I don't know, go play football, I don't know, bath a dog, something of that sort. When we engage ourselves, we find out that we spend less time on social media, and this all goes to our benefit. So let's engage ourselves in doing things and not always being on our phone. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you very much. Angela, your final words.
Okay, I would like to say a very, very big thank you to God Almighty for making this program a successful one. And I also say a big thank you to Deedee Global and our guest speakers for captivating us with this thoughts on cybercrime and addiction to the electronic media. And I know my colleagues and I are going to cope with this advice and happiness today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, we're going to take a brief or short message from the communications director.
Thank you all very much for participating in the webinar. We hope we've learned a lot. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to Madam Catherine Appiah for your time with us, and then to Madam Ifia Asante and to Mr. Notegia. Thank you very much. If you're bored or you want to log on to social media, you can always go to our social media pages at ISESE Ghana. You find useful information, how to be a public speaker, how to speak well. Use your time for the good things. And then you can log on to our website, www.deedglobal.com, for more information for upcoming events. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. That was the communications director. We have unfortunately come to the end of this conference. I am Desiree Ishira-Hayfren and I have been your host. I hope you all have learned something and are going to try as much as possible to mitigate digital addiction. Thank you all for your time once again. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.